Okay, I'm going to continue on, excuse me, with my novel that I'm writing. We're going to start into the chapter, The Moment Everything Changed. This is just after where I left off. Marcus, the night shift manager, had always been a problem, handsy, inappropriate, the kind of man who thought that his position meant he could say anything. KP watched from the kitchen as Marcus cornered Elena by the walk-in freezer. His hands were too close, his voice too low. The way Elena's body went completely still told KP everything he needed to know. Rage, the familiar architecture of anger, began to build, but this time was different. This wasn't about his past darkness. This was about protection. When Marcus grabbed Elena's arm, something shifted in the kitchen. The pizza ovens flickered. Utensils began to vibrate slightly on their hooks. KP didn't move quickly. He moved precisely. Let her go. 3 words, spoken so quietly that Marcus almost didn't hear them, but the temperature in the kitchen dropped 10 degrees. The fluorescent lights began to pulse. Elena knew, without turning around, she knew exactly what was happening. Marcus would never touch her again. Marcus, take your hands off of her. You don't treat a lady like that. And if you ever so much as look at her in the wrong way, ever again, we're going to have major problems, and you're going to suffer the consequences that you don't want, I said as my eyes began to glow red. I keep switching from third to first person. I'm going to have to correct that. Sorry to stop the reading, but I'll be right back. Take it back a notch. He said as his eyes began to glow red. Marcus backed away slowly, putting a few feet of distance between him and Elena. He put his hands up. Elena slid past Marcus. She grabbed KP's arm and pulled him away from everyone in the kitchen. You need to calm down, KP. Your eyes are glowing red. The whole kitchen went haywire. You are unaware that I know there is a lot different about you, but I respect it, Elena whispered in his ear. Her breath was hot and tickled the inside of his earlobe. He nodded and immediately snapped back to the moment and realized what he'd done. He was pleased that Elena was unharmed. She leaned close to KP and whispered in his ear, I'm not sure how you did it, but thanks. One day you will trust me. Then I must know what just happened. She walked away, and KP knew something about Elena was different from other women. Next chapter. Invisible Threads. KP wasn't like other men. Elena knew this from the moment she first saw him in the Pizza Hut kitchen. Most people saw a quiet cook. She saw a volcano contained. Every movement calculated. Every interaction measured. There was a weight to him that most people missed. A sense of something larger, barely restrained. She'd seen predators before. Marcus wasn't just a bad manager, he was a predator. And KP was the only thing standing between predators and their prey. Her own past wasn't pretty. She recognized survival in the way KP moved, the way he watched, the way he remained absolutely still while everything inside him was a storm. When he looked at her, it wasn't with desire, it was with recognition, a profound understanding that went beyond words, beyond touch, beyond the typical boundaries most people understood. She knew he adored her, not in a romantic way, but in the way a guardian might protect something precious, distant, absolute, unbreakable. And when Marcus grabbed her arm that day, she knew exactly what was coming. Some connections don't need words. Some protections are understood in the space between breaths. KP would handle it completely, utterly. Next is the inheritance of poison. Marcus wasn't born a predator. He was manufactured. His father, a local high school football coach, with a reputation that terrified more than inspired, had taught him one fundamental lesson: power is taken, never given. Weakness was the ultimate sin in their household. The beatings weren't random, they were methodical, calculated lessons in domination. By 12, Marcus had learned that pain was a language and control was its grammar. His mother's silence was the punctuation that completed every sentence. When he became a manager at Pizza Hut, it wasn't just a job, it was a hunting ground, a place where he could recreate the only power dynamics he'd ever understood. Each inappropriate touch, each cornered employee, these were his inheritance, his father's lessons, translated into a different key. But he had no idea what was coming, no concept of the reckoning that waited. Silent and patient in the form of a cook who'd understood predation far more intimately than Marcus ever could. Marcus walked away, holding. Skip the last few words. Another mess up. It happens. This is only my rough draft anyway. Women were just toys for him to play with. That included Elena. The complication. Melissa was everything Elena wasn't. Petite with curves that seemed engineered to attract attention. She worked the front counter at Pizza Hut, always in tight uniforms that pushed against the dress code, always finding reasons to walk through the kitchen to brush against KP. 5'2" of pure distraction. Her engagement ring was massive, a statement piece that said more about her fiance's wallet than any emotional connection. But her eyes, they were always on KP, not subtle, not hidden. She'd accidentally drop things near him, lean in closer than necessary, laugh just a little too loudly at anything he might say. KP remained unchanged and uninterested. Elena watched. Marcus watched. The entire kitchen became a silent theater of unspoken tensions. Melissa had no idea she was playing a game where the rules had already been written, where her attractions meant nothing against the deeper currents flowing around her. She thought she loved him. She had no idea what love really looked like. Melissa bent over in front of KP, and her butt was facing him. Enough, Melissa. I see your big butt. Everyone does. You make sure of it with your paint on clothes that you wear. I'm not interested. Don't get me wrong. You're attractive as hell, but I'm not interested, KP said bluntly, but as nice as possible. Don't lie. You know, if I undressed, you would ravage me. I could see it in your face, she declared with a grin. You wish. I'm done talking about this. I'm not interested. The warning. Elena cornered Melissa by the walk-in freezer. No witnesses, no drama, just absolute clarity. He's not interested, she said, her voice so quiet it was almost a whisper. Not in you. Not in anyone. Melissa tried to play innocent. Don't know what you're talking about. Elena's eyes were different. Not angry, something colder. Something that suggested she knew everything. Your engagement ring is on. Your intentions are transparent. And KP, he sees right through you. The implicit threat wasn't physical. It was something deeper, a warning from someone who understood protection in ways Melissa could never comprehend. Stay away. 2 words, absolute finality. Melissa would learn, or she would be removed. Elena had already decided. Next chapter, moment of violation. It happened quickly. The storage room. Marcus knew exactly how to time these moments. His hand, her shoulder, that space between professional and personal, where power reveals itself. Melissa froze. Not at the first Oops, not the first time, probably not the last. The kind of moment women learn to survive, not fight. But this time was different. The kitchen was silent, not metaphysically, literally silent. Every piece of equipment, every ambient noise stopped. KP hadn't moved, not yet. But something had. Marcus gripped Melissa's butt tightly. If KP won't have you, I will. Melissa froze. Her face showed horror. The horror of a survivor, a woman who survived a sexual predator's aftermath. Marcus drew closer to Melissa. If you undressed, I would screw you in a heartbeat. Melissa shook her head. Then she screamed, No, Marcus! I gotta stop. Melissa shook her head. Then she screamed, No, Marcus, I won't, period. And then she yelled, Help. KP and Elena heard Melissa cry for help from different areas, and both hurried in her direction. Elena reached her first. Marcus, let her go, you asshole. This is sexual harassment, Elena declared. KP came around the corner. He appeared ready to kill. Okay, P, do you think you can keep this hottie on the back burner and no one else will take her away? She wants me, just doesn't know it, Marcus declared with a cocky smirk. How did it feel to watch your father beat your mother into submission? I bet it pissed you off, Marcus. How about how your dad beat you into submission and conditioned you to be a bigger abusive sexual predator than he is and was? He didn't try to rape or grope anyone, but you have went further than him. You cried yourself to sleep at the age of 8 after you saw your dad beat your mom, and then he beat you for seeing it. Remember? KP said so everyone could hear. How do you know about that? Marcus asked with a worried look. Melissa walked away from Marcus and stood against KP. With tears in her eyes, she hugged him for support. Elena looked at Melissa with concern, but she knew Melissa was in need of comfort from the whole ordeal. Marcus suddenly broke down after he realized his actions and his whole life was nothing but abuse. After the shift was over, Elena waited outside for KP. As he walked to his car, she ran to him. We should talk. I have so much I need to understand. I know you don't talk much, but please help me to understand some things, Elena asked. Suddenly, a very strong but profound feeling radiated through KP, something he never felt before. He recognized it as love. He knew this must be from Elena. Tongue-tied. I'm sorry, guys. Elena couldn't help but lose control of her feelings for KP. She kept them locked away and buried around him. Suddenly, she couldn't help but feel a rush of sudden and powerful affection for him. Oh, wow. You're in love with me, aren't you? KP asked. Yes, duh. Why do you think I stay clear and seem to understand you? I did suspect this much. I'm honored that the most beautiful woman I've ever seen has feelings for me, but there are many deep reasons why I avoid people. I respect all that you are, the person you are, but you need to let somebody in. I won't rush, but you must know the truth. I want to put that aside, and I want you to tell me why all of this weird stuff is happening. And it's happening when you're angry or annoyed. I could tell by your face. I have studied you, honestly. I'm glad you didn't push Melissa away when she came to you earlier after you stopped Marcus from, she trailed off. We don't need to talk any further about that. She needed the comfort. You gave it to her. the time she needed it. Let's go somewhere and we will talk. You do seem to understand more about me than the average person does, and I do trust you. KP led Elena to a restaurant that was open all night. When it was just her, oh boy, when it was just them alone, he explained his situation with his 1 day-a-week power. So you have the power of God for 1 day a week, but you don't change your past and peer to your future? That's crazy. I'm not sure anyone else would be able to do that, she said with a look of curiosity in her eyes. The past can't change without changing the future. If I change the past without possibly not losing. Let me start that again. Past can't change without changing the future. If I change the past, it might ruin everything. Or possibly I wouldn't be here now. It's too risky, KP explained. She nodded, showing she understood. They talked about why he had this ability. They threw ideas back and forth. I'm certain it's a punishment I earned. God is teaching me humility and divine responsibility. I know I've told God he sucks at being God, and he's showing me why he does what he does. That's all I can believe, KP said quietly. You're not a bad guy. Just led a life full of bad misunderstandings and choices. What could you have done so bad, she asked. I was a Satanist throwing around black magic to harm others. Thoughts of rape, genocide, and release some evil from hell. That's not too good. I was possessed by something evil, but that's no excuse. Elena stared at me in disbelief, with her mouth hanging open. That's bad. I don't believe you would do those things, she exclaimed. Sorry to ruin your opinion of me. You haven't, KP. But were they just thoughts of rape? You didn't act on them, right? She asked with a serious but worried look. No, I didn't act on them. But I spent a long time considering. I was a monster in them days. Did whatever I really wanted. Death curses to people, mind manipulation spells, demon summoning. Lived on caffeine, nicotine, rage, and alcohol. I was the one co-workers called Lucifer, the devil, and the beast. Well, I called me the beast. To torment the Christians, I knew. I was terrible. She gasped. A look of fear crossed her face. What's wrong? I saw that fear in your eyes, KP asked. Did you live in New York? Near Waterloo? She asked with concern. Near there, why? I remember you. You knew me then. You knew me then. Yes, we worked together at McDonald's. Are you sure? Hi, Dad. Shh. She nodded and smiled. You took a job elsewhere and vanished. I wanted you in the worst way, but you left. I told John no because I wanted you, so he ended up with my sister. Oh my, you're the one I used to dream about. God, I wanted you so bad, but I was too shy. She grinned with the realization of what could have been. Let's date. I'm not missing the chance again, she said. KP nodded. He stood up and took her hand. He led her to his car. Oh, where are you taking me? Elena asked. Tell me, and I'll take you there, KP said with a smile. Your house. I'm not missing any more chances to be with you. What? With me how? She grinned. We got in the car and I drove her. We got in the car and he drove her to his house. The true adversary emerges. I might go two different ways with this here. Because, we'll just go with it. The true adversary emerges. Somewhere not far from KP. Nope, I'm going to get rid of that part. Actually, I'll let you guys decide if this is something I should add in or not. The true adversary emerges. Somewhere not far from KP emerges a figure from deep within a forest. This person quietly moves following a game trail. He moves with purpose, giving off an aura like no other. A mountain lion springs from a tree and follows this figure through the forest. The mountain lion creeps along, sniffing the air as it follows the mysterious figure. As the big cat gets closer, the man stops. The cat pounces and lands on the man's back. The cat pounces and lands on the man's back. With a swift move, the man throws the beast to the ground and grips its head. With a small move, he rips the animal's head off and drops it. He begins walking away. KP's house now. At KP's house, Elena asks more questions about KP. I'm curious if you've used this power to help anyone, and why did everything go haywire when you stopped Marcus from his attempt with Melissa? Elena asked. I help others when I can. My anger, if it is what they call righteous, can cause the power to go out. It's just something that happens. How did you know me before today? Crap, I goofed up there too. Oh well, I'll fix that. Cross out the how did you know me before this. I dream of you nightly. Somehow we are bound to each other. I don't know, she said quietly. That's interesting. I wonder why, KP said quizzically. I wish I knew. So why do you hate sex anyway? Well, everyone is so stuck on sex, sports, and drugs these days. I am tired of all the hype over it. The more others talk about it, the more I hate it. Guess that's better than the opposite. But I hope you don't hate it so much that you won't find it enjoyable if we decide to do it. I mean, no rush. KP smiled at her and nodded in reassurance of her concern. Elena walked over to KP and hugged him, holding him. She kissed him softly. The soft lamplight cast shadows across her skin, and she was looking at him with that look, soft, inviting, full of unspoken possibilities. He felt the familiar tightening in his chest, that same old mechanism sliding into place, protecting distance, safety. Her fingers traced the edge of his hand, and he saw it first in her eyes, a momentary flicker, not of her, but through her, a shadow that wasn't a shadow, a reflection that wasn't quite his own. Are you okay? She whispered. He wasn't, but for some reason she might think. But not for the reason she might think, sorry. I'm reading too fast. The room seemed to hold its breath, and then, so quietly, he almost missed it, a voice, his voice, but not, weathered and knowing. Not this time, the voice said, not loud, just present. His muscles tensed. The woman, Elena, hadn't heard it, but he had, crystal clear. And that's as far as I've made it so far. Please tell me what you think of the first part and this part. Ooh, excuse me. Let me know anything you think on it. If there's something you think I need to clarify a little more. Most of all, just let me know if you like it. If it's pulled you in, if you want me to do more. It'll probably be a couple of days or even possibly a week before I upload anymore. But please comment below. Give me your ideas, your thoughts on this. Most of all, have a great day.